I know everybody knows it deep down, but just to say it out loud is that Steve is really the father of modern Star Wars collecting. I'm going to say fandom even. Steve is exactly what you see is what you get. He's just the best kind of guy.
You're listening to Around the Galaxy.
Welcome to Around the Galaxy, the Star Wars fan talk show. I am one of your hosts, Pete Fletzer, and along with my co-host, Nick Milkey, we bring you the conversations with the people behind the Star Wars fandom. This week, we are absolutely thrilled to have two iconic figures in the Star Wars community with us, Mr. Steve Sansweet and Miss Ann Newman from Rancho Obi-Wan. If you are a Star Wars fan, I am sure you've already heard of Rancho Obi-Wan, and for those who haven't, it is the home of the largest collection of Star Wars memorabilia in the world, as certified by the Guinness Book of World Records. And on this episode, Steve and Ann will be sharing some exciting news about their upcoming gala taking place in Seattle on October 5th, 2024. The event is going to feature exclusive exhibits, including a Star Wars themed guitar display that is sure to delight fans and collectors alike. And if you're into auctions, they are going to have both live and silent auctions at the event, offering some amazing items. And one of the highlights of the night, I have to say, is a Boba Fett themed guitar with a special bonus. Ready for this? A guitar lesson from Vixen's Brit Lightning. It's going to be an incredible night, and you can find all the details and support on their amazing nonprofit organization at ranchoobiwan.org. Not only did we talk about this event, we also had the opportunity to talk to Steve about the current state of collecting, and I was able to share with him the story of how he influenced my Star Wars journey, and you're not going to want to miss that. But we have so much coming your way in this episode. Before we jump into the conversation, we want to make sure that you like and subscribe and share the show with all your fellow Star Wars fans. And if you want to become a bigger part of the Around the Galaxy family, we would love to have you. You can do that in a couple different ways. First of all, you can always follow us on social media. You can follow us wherever you're on the interwebs at the SSW Network, or you can follow the show specifically at ATGcast on Twitter or X or whatever it's being called. Also, head on over to our website at theSSWnetwork.com for all the information you need about this show, the hosts, links to all the good stuff. Plus, we also are now offering a membership on our YouTube channel. For just $3 a month, you're going to get early access to things. We're going to give you behind the scenes. Plus, you're going to get special emojis and a badge so that we can make sure that you are a part of our live ATG show every Thursday night. And now, without further ado, our conversation with Steve Sansweet and Ann Newman. We are excited to have Steve Sansweet and Ann Newman with us. Steve,
hey guys,
how are you?
Doing well, thank you. And Willie.
And Willie.
And Willie.
Hi, Willie. How are you?
I'm Willie's emotional support human.
Steve, I was so excited that you were going to be on the show. I decided to grow a beard to try to continue to emulate and be, you know, as much like you as I can be.
Well, it's 2 steps removed from Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Right. 1 step removed from Obi-Wan.
Right. Which, congratulations to Ewan McGregor today getting his Hollywood Walk of
Star
Fame.
on the Boulevard. Yes, indeed. And he can come back once a week and scrape off the chewing gum.
That's the privilege that comes with that, I suppose.
That's right. The Dion upkeep.
Well, Steve, and thank you so much. People have heard of Rancho Obi-Wan. Many people are members. Many people who are fans of our show are members of Rancho Obi-Wan. But maybe give us just for those that may not be familiar with Rancho Obi-Wan, tell us a little bit about this amazing museum.
Rancho Obi-Wan is a non-profit institution that houses, according to the Guinness Book of World Records, the world's largest Star Wars memorabilia collection. We've got somewhere over 400,000 separate items in the collection in a 9,000 square foot museum and we have an off-site storage facility, which used to be really open with lots of space on the shelves. And now you have to sort of walk in between things to find stuff. But it's great. We opened to the public in the late 2011. And we do guided tours with docents that last 2 to 3 hours usually just on Saturdays. We do 1 or 2 tours on Saturdays. And in order to book a ticket in advance, because we sell out tours, especially in the summer and the early fall, it's ranchoobiwan.org, and you can buy tickets there. And you'll hear that URL repeated numerous times this evening.
I think we're already booked through November. So if you're planning on coming, it'll be November, December.
Wow. Do you find like, so you say they book up immediately? How many people go on a tour at once?
We keep the tour to 12 people. Okay. Because we want to make sure everybody can hear and see as the docent is leading them down the aisle. Really, it's an experience to hear the stories that are attached to the items. It's not just looking at a bunch of action figures, but there are always funny stories or revealing stories behind what you're seeing. And there's a lot more than just toys in the museum, in the collection.
Yeah. And it is a nonprofit, which means that you do fundraising to keep things going. Steve, I was fortunate to see it. I don't even know how many years ago. It was before it was open to the public. Yeah. And in order to keep this thing going, because it's interesting, because Star Wars memorabilia is, you said toys and that's, and I think that's sort of the initial impression when people first start to think about it. But once you start to dig in and realize it's a part of Americana, it's part of global culture. It reaches the action figures. I have a couple of the old ones back there somewhere, and like it's just such a part of who I would say. I was gonna say we, but I mean it's like I said, it's deeply ingrained in the culture. So you keep it up through this nonprofit organization, and in order to do that, you have an annual gala. And do you want to tell us a little bit about? I mean, through other means, of course, there's memberships and things, but you do an annual fundraising gala, right?
So we actually haven't had a fundraiser since 2018 for various reasons. So this is our very first one since 2018, and it's our very first fundraiser that we're doing not at Rancho Obi-Wan, and we're doing it at the Museum of Pop Culture, which is an amazing museum if you've never been there. It was originally a museum dedicated to Jimi Hendrix and music, and Paul Allen started it.
Paul Allen was the benefactor, and then Paul got interested in science fiction, and so started up buying more props and costumes and things like that. And so it's become a very well-rounded museum, and is taken the name of the Museum of Pop Culture. Yeah. And it's located in Seattle, Washington, where conveniently 2 of our board of directors live, and who have huge collections themselves. And part of the ticket, as an add-on ticket, you can actually get to see the collections of Gus Lopez and Lisa Stevens and Vic Wertz while you're up in Seattle.
Yep. And Mopop also has several exhibits with Star Wars items in them. And we are bringing a special exhibit of Star Wars guitars.
Yes.
Keeping the theme of Mopop, since they also have a very impressive exhibit on all kinds of guitars. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's got a lot of space and a huge screen that we can show giant videos on. And we're going to have food and drink and costume characters and photo ops. So we would love everybody to come join us.
Yes,
100%. And it's so neat. And I love that you mentioned that about the guitars, because Pete and I are both musicians and Star Wars fans. And we talk all the time about the cross section of, nerds and music. And of course, Mopop is the perfect place to bring that together in the Star Wars universe. And we've seen guitars over the years that, pictures of them surface online, the one that looks like the Millennium Falcon, the one that looks like, all that kind of stuff. So when I saw that was a part of the display that you guys were going to have up there, it's absolutely, right up my alley, and I can't wait to hear how it turns out. I'm not going to get to make it, but you have so many components to this event, and that's the other thing that I was going to get you to talk about. Like you said, you've got music, but you're going to have a live and a silent auction. Talk a little bit about the auction, the items that y'all are going to have up for sale.
Well, one of the live auction items is a Boba Fett guitar. It's licensed by Fernandez,
Japanese manufacturer.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And along with it, Britt Lightning from Vixen will be giving you an online lesson on how to play that Boba Fett guitar.
Nice.
I think I need that myself.
Yeah.
That's right.
I tried to take up a guitar when I was young, and my fingers kept breaking on the strings.
Yeah. So you've got that as one of the items. What else is available to bid on?
There's a wine tasting for 8 at Skywalker Ranch at Skywalker Vineyards. So if you've always wanted to go to Skywalker Ranch, Skywalker Vineyards is a beautiful place that it has a wonderful statue out front. It's called the Icon. Mm-hmm. And you get to taste, they make delicious wines.
They do.
Mm-hmm.
And George Lucas now has vineyards in Northern California, Italy, and France. And you get to taste some of those wines. So it's a great occasion. We've had this once or twice before at our live auctions back in the day, and people have gone in together and split it. You split it, the cost in half, and won the auction.
So we've also got a silent auction with all kinds of donations from artists who have been so supportive of Rancho Obi-Wan, Mark Ratz, Joe Caroni, Walt Crowley. There's a lot of them. You remember who else has sent stuff? Lots of stuff. There's actually a list, an evolving list on the webpage.
And we'll be updating that list as we get more items in for the auction. We've got some wonderful signed prints from the late Ralph McQuarrie.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
We have signed photos from Colin Cantwell, the late Colin Cantwell, who was the guy who came up with the models even before Ralph McQuarrie was hired, and based some of his concept art on the models that Colin Cantwell built. So that's a huge item for the auction.
That's fantastic.
Without a doubt. Well, we want to remind everybody, go to ranchoobiwan.org. You can find information about the gala, about the museum. Keep checking it out. Like you said, you're going to keep updating it. And tell us when the event is. I don't think we said that yet. We said it's in Seattle.
It's October 5th. It's in a less than a month.
Why are you here? You have things to be doing.
Anne is sitting by the computer 17 hours a day, I think. There's a lot to do, but we've got a lot of great volunteers. Seattle area is a hotspot for collectors. I mean, 2 of the best and biggest collections in the world are there. As I said, Gus Lopez, who was a former vice president of Amazon and has been on the board of directors for quite a while and is vice president of Rancho Obi-Wan, has probably the best and largest collection of Star Wars costumes and props.
And cereal.
And cereal
boxes.
And cast and crew items. He has just the most amazing collection. And Lisa and Vic over the years have put together an equally fantastic collection that includes a lot of prototypes of toys and flat art, packaging art, so many incredible things.
They have their own theater, and they also have the Cantina bar from Star Wars Celebration.
That was built for StarWars.com for a celebration a couple of celebrations ago. And we were offered it and couldn't find a place to fit.
We'd have to build a new building.
So,
nobody called me. I would have.
You have a barn, Pete?
Actually, I do.
Those goats don't need that barn.
The goats don't need the barn. They can live it. So, Anne, are you a collector also? You almost have to be, I would imagine.
I collect by proxy.
Okay.
My bank account.
Yep.
No, I mean, I had when I was a kid, I was 9 when Star Wars came out, and my sister was 6, and we had, the action figures and trading cards, and those fell by the wayside into adulthood. But then I started recollecting again with episode 1, and that's where I discovered Steve's Tome Arts Guide to Star Wars Collectibles.
Mhm.
And we met up at a San Diego Comic-Con in the 2004. And I was at a table at the Spaghetti Factory, and I said, I've just lost my number 2 person. And anybody want to volunteer to inventory a Star Wars collection for free? And for some reason was the only one who raised her hand. And so
She knew what she was doing.
She came out for a couple of weeks and then decided that she would spend 6 months inventorying the collection. And that was how many years ago, Anne?
Gosh, 18 years.
Oh my gosh.
Each time I ask Anne, it's another 2 years added.
I know, it just seems like 100 years.
So Anne is now president and chief executive officer of Rancho Obi-Wan, and I'm chairman and founder. I still buy
and collector.
I still buy things for the collection, although a lot less than I used to. I don't have a steady, large income coming in because, journalists, when I was at the Wall Street Journal for 26 years, are just dramatically paid huge amounts of
Right.
Sure.
and executives at movie companies outside of Hollywood are just showered with greenbacks.
Clearly. Not clearly.
No, not
Well,
true. But it would be nice.
It would be very nice. It would have been very nice.
Right.
Well, and speaking of those journalism days, I want to throw it back for a minute, and I'm going to kind of drag Pete into this too. But I know the story because Pete and I have been partners doing this show for several years now and friends for a couple of years before that. But because of the journalism that you were doing, because of Star Wars Galaxy magazine, Pete got hooked up with you, started right. And honestly, I think that if it wasn't for the phone call he made, and I know he's going to tell this story, to connect up with you, we probably wouldn't be sitting here getting to have this fun conversation because it led him.
So
down
are you
a path
blaming me or thanking me?
I'm 100% thanking you, sir, because we've had quite an amazing journey so far, and to get to talk to you and to get to talk to the other guests we've had as a part of this podcast. But Pete, kind of jump in here because this is such a fun story, but it leads us really to having the show.
Steve, I don't know if I've ever told you this story. I know I've told it on the show before, but this was back in 96, I think it was.
When I just first joined Lucasfilm.
Right. Yep. And you were doing you were touring Star Trek conventions, showing them pictures of the special edition on the slide. You literally, I think you had a slide wheel, right? I mean, you literally had the slide machine and
slide machine and some film.
Right. And some film. Right. And I had what I believe may have been the first Star Wars fan website. It was called Echo Base, and it was like a GeoCities website. And because there was no official Star Wars site at the time, people began sending me emails saying, where's Steve Sansweet going to be? Where can I see him do this special edition presentation? And I had no idea. I was just, I was making flaming logo GIFs and things like that. And I was, so I decided to just, I'm going to call Lucasfilm and I'm going to see if maybe they can get me Mr. Sansweet's schedule. And so I called because that's what you did. Didn't email, called, and I said, hey, I'm very interested. I'm getting a lot of requests for Steve's schedule for the special edition presentation. And they said, okay, yeah, please hang on a second. I figured they were just going to come back in a second and say, okay, where's an email address I can send it? But next thing I know is I hear on the phone Steve Sansweet speaking, and I was floored because I have it right here. This book was like my numero uno favorite Star Wars collectible book, and I was a reader of Star Wars Galaxy magazine, which of course was only about 4 or 5 issues in at the time. And to be able to speak to you, and then next thing you know, you were like, why are you asking me this? And tell me about your website. And next thing you know, I was sending you out some samples of some of the work I did, and I was very fortunate and honored to be asked by you to help out with a couple of the issues and a couple of the articles that were there, and of course, also your very generous invitation to join you for a day at Skywalker Ranch around that same time, which was an incredible experience. And I don't know if I've told you the story or had the opportunity to really thank you for it, because it was an amazing experience, and it changed my Star Wars trajectory and the trajectory of a number of things I ended up doing. So
got another one.
Yep. Got another one. Real man.
I know everybody knows it deep down, but just to say it out loud, is that Steve is really the father of modern Star Wars collecting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say fandom, even
Mm-hmm.
because of all of your writing and your appearances at conventions. And Steve is exactly what you see is what you get. He's just the best kind of guy.
Oh, thank you, Andy.
So yes, we should all thank Steve.
That was a wonderful job for 15 years. And then I went back in 2017 to help out for a little while. And now they have a full-time fan relations person and exhibit person. And I was doing all of that by myself. I can still remember when I had a meeting with my boss, who was the head of marketing and the president of Lucasfilm, and said, I think we need to do a floor exhibit at San Diego Comic-Con. And, well, how much will it cost? And I pulled the number out of and said, oh, maybe $500,000. And people went, ah! and then I had hired Mary Franklin, who was there on a temporary basis, at least. And Mary said, no, more likely $1 million.
Oh.
Then we figured out a way to be able to have a big pavilion and have our licensees in it, more like a bazaar. And everybody helped pay for the space. And I'm thrilled that Lucasfilm still has its pavilion at San Diego Comic-Con every year. And it's something that fans look forward to.
Now, the one I met you at, there was the full-size X-Wing fighter.
Yep.
There.
Oh.
Wow.
Do you find that obviously collecting has changed because there's so much of it? Does Rancho Obi-Wan keep up with the deluge of things that come out, or do you have sort of like as new things come out, you kind of just put them in a storage somewhere, or do you focus more on unique collectibles?
I'm focusing more on unique collectibles. There are a couple of categories that I follow very closely. That one is action figures, although not as close as I used to when I used to go out and hit up all the stores for the exclusives, things of that nature. There's so many exclusives these days that I just don't have the time and the ability to keep track of that.
Right.
Lego is very important to me, as Lego celebrates its 25th anniversary of Star Wars, the franchise that saved Lego and helped turn it into the world's largest toy company. And I love the Lego stuff. In fact, it's been about a year since we opened up a major display at Rancho Obi-Wan of Lego Star Wars pieces. And one of our docents, a guy named Mark Morita, built some amazing pieces that we have on display, along with the box pieces from Lego themselves. So it's great. I look at things like the Regal robot maquette replicas that they've been doing. I've gone crazy for those things. They are just amazing, and they're really picking up steam. They have a legacy edition of things that the people who actually sculpted these back for, mostly for Return of the Jedi and for Episode 1, who are doing sketches and signing plaques, and then they have a signed edition. So it's things like this which bring you close to the creation of the Star Wars movies that are really exciting to me and to a lot of other fans.
Yeah, we've had Tom on the show a couple times, and just the the passion and love that goes into things that come out of Regal Robot is, I always tell people, you'll know that I won the lottery if you ever see the full-headed, the Tauntaun over here instead of my D1 droid, because that's the one that I want.
and we do have something from Regal Robot in our silent auction at the fundraiser as well. They donated a piece.
They donated a sold-out piece, so we're hoping that goes well. I want the big Chewbacca if you'd like to. That's only $20,000 with the bowcaster.
Well, if I win the lottery, Steve, I will send you one. I'm saying it here now. I'm putting it on record.
Let me make it clear that I spend my own money on the collectibles. We use what we raise for the nonprofit for insurance, which in Northern California with the wildfires we've had over the last 4 or 5 years, the insurance has gone up 7-fold.
Wow.
For fire and theft and other kinds of insurance. We use it for maintenance. We use it for utilities. So
everything that's required to run a nonprofit.
Yeah,
sure.
Fantastic. Well, thank you both for giving us so much of your time. I know, and you have things to do to get this thing ready to go in just a couple short weeks. Again, go to ranchoobiwan.org to get your tickets if you're going to be in the Seattle area on October 5th.
Yep.
Or if you want to donate or become a member of Rancho Obi-Wan, which you can absolutely do. It's all there. Or if you want to take part in the silent auction, right? The virtual auction. Is it the virtual auction will be there?
You must be in attendance of
the
fundraiser to make bids.
Well, that's great. That's good to know. So you can see what's going to be there.
Stay tuned. This is going to be a big fundraising fall for us.
Excellent.
And we may have some news to break at the fundraiser too about the future of Rancho Obi-Wan. So we may be back with you in the not too distant future to talk
Always
about
welcome.
Yeah.
Well, we will be here. Very happy to talk to you at any time. And we really appreciate you spending some time with us tonight. And best of luck with everything. Steve, always great to see you. And it's been great to meet you. And best of luck with the fundraiser. And again, go to ranchoobiwan.org and become a member of Rancho Obi-Wan and keep this amazing collection alive and going for the future.
Guys.
So
we appreciate your support.
No problem. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you again soon. Well, that wraps it up for this episode of Around the Galaxy. We want to extend a huge thank you to Steve Sansweet and Ann Newman from Rancho Obi-Wan for joining us today. The work they are doing to preserve Star Wars history is truly incredible, and we can't wait to hear more about their upcoming gala in Seattle on October 5th. Make sure to check out all the details and support their nonprofit by visiting ranchoobiwan.org. And of course, a big thank you to you, our listeners, for tuning in and being part of the Star Wars conversation with us. We appreciate your support more than you know. Before we sign off, don't forget to connect with us across all our platforms. You can visit our website at the sswnetwork.com and follow us on social media, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter at the SSW Network. And of course, you can follow the show specifically at ATGcast. Plus, you can support us directly now on our YouTube channel. You can still watch for free, but if you want to become a member at youtube.com/at the SSW Network, you'll get access to exclusive content, some badges, and some more preferential treatment when it comes to call-outs with guests. If you'd like to share your thoughts on today's show, just leave us a message. You can call us on our voicemail at 504-321-1501, 504-321-1501. We would love to hear from you. This show has been copyright 2024 Pete in the Seed Studios, and our music is brought to us by the band Apollo's Ghost. Thank you so much for being a part of the show, and may the Force be with you.